With the Erik Karlsson trade now complete, we're going to revisit the original Erik Karlsson trade that brought him to San Jose, discuss his legacy, and then take a crack at some projected lines with a bunch of new pieces. So all that and more on today's episode of Locked On Sharks.
You're Locked On Sharks, your daily podcast on the San Jose Sharks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, welcome to Locked On Sharks, the premier hockey podcast covering your favorite team in the Bay Area. My name is JD Young, contributor at San Jose Hockey Now and Inside the Rink, and I want to thank you for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Proudly a part of the Locked On Network, we cover your team every day. And even though it's the off season and I'm only supposed to be doing 3 episodes a week, you're getting 5 this week. There's just too much good stuff to talk about with the Erik Karlsson trade. We've got a couple guests coming up. So just too much stuff. So we're going to give you 5 episodes this week. So wanted to, yesterday we discussed kind of the nuts and bolts of the Erik Karlsson trade. I wanted to kind of spend today revisiting kind of the initial trade and what could have been and kind of the discussion around that, and then discuss Erik Karlsson's legacy in San Jose in the 5 seasons that he was here and kind of what type of mark he left on the Sharks organization and what the fans think about him and, especially such a polarizing player. And then take a crack at some lines going forward, because the Sharks, they got a lot of NHL players on the roster right now. Are they good players? Who knows? But we shall at least try to put him in some order, at least what I would do if I was David Quinn, but I'm not David Quinn. But let's go ahead first and start with the Erik Karlsson trade. And I think you have to kind of go back in time to that 2018, the end of the 2017-2018 season, look at the 2018 offseason, and then kind of the things that happened for the Erik Karlsson trade and then the Erik Karlsson extension that happened afterwards. And I think you have to actually kind of start with the Evander Kane trade. So if you remember February 2018, the Sharks trade for Evander Kane from the Buffalo Sabres. That trade was a conditional second-round pick in the 2019 draft, Danny O'Regan, and then a 2019 fourth-round pick. The condition on the 2019 first-round pick is if the Sharks make the playoffs, check, they did, and then re-sign Evander Kane, that pick goes from a second-round pick to a first-round pick. There's some other conditions. If the Sharks didn't make the playoffs, but they re-signed Kane, that pick would have become a 2020. But the Sharks were going to if that team was a pretty good team. Remember, they first round they swept the Ducks, and then they get pulverized by Vegas in round 2. So just keep that in mind, that 2019 draft pick, right? So of course that's rolling into the summer, right? Doug Wilson, he is trying to do everything he can to win a championship for the Sharks, right? If you remember the 2018 free agency, the Sharks were they were one of the final people in the John Tavares race, right? Rumors were the Sharks had offered $13 million. Remember, $13 million to John Tavares to sign a 7-year, $13 million a year contract. Of course, we know he left the Islanders, went to the Maple Leafs. He signed a 7-year, $77 million, so he left some money on the table to go sign with his hometown team. We all remember the John Tavares sleeping with the Leaf sheets, right? That was his little Star Wars toy. We all remember that picture when he signed. So, all right. So the Sharks re-sign Evander Kane that offseason, give him a 7-year, $7 million contract. They miss out on John Tavares. Doug Wilson is still trying to add that one final piece for the Sharks to help them make a cup run. Something else to keep in mind. Joe Pavelski entering in the 2018-29 season, entering the last year of his 5-year deal at $6 million a season. He had been, we know exactly what Joe Pavelski was, captain of the team, all that fun stuff, but definitely an older player, right? Looking, entering his age, what was that? That would have been his age, 34, 35 season, around that time, right? God, Joe Pavelski's 39 already, and still doing his thing. What a monster. Anyway, right? So, Evander Kane, 7 years, $7 million contract. Joe Pavelski entering the last year of his contract. Doug Wilson trying to add one more piece. Here comes, with the Evander Kane signing that took that second round pick, made it into a first round pick in the 2019 draft. September 2018, the Sharks trade for Erik Karlsson. They give up a Dylan DeMello, Chris Tierney, Rudolph Spalters, prospect Joshua Norris, a 2020 first-round pick unprotected, a 2021 second-round pick that would have, and then a 2019 also second-round pick. They didn't have a 2019 first-round pick because they had traded that. They had lost that pick when they traded for Evander Kane and then re-signed him. So 2019 second-round pick, 2020 first-round pick, 2021 first-round pick, and then another conditional first round. So, right, multiple first-round picks, all for Erik Karlsson and Francis Piron. Karlsson entered the last year of his $6.5 million deal, looking for an extension as well. He knew the Sens weren't going to pay him. There was plenty of bad blood between Ottawa and him, especially if you go back in the Mike Hoffman and Mike Hoffman's wife. Plenty of stuff going on with that, right? So, remember, so if you go back, the Evander Kane thing, right? The Sharks, Doug Wilson kind of had to make a choice, especially with Joe Pavelski, who is entering his mid-30s. If he wanted to add another forward, he went with Evander Kane. He kind of made that choice, right? If you remember, Joe Pavelski was looking for a 3-year, $7 million contract. I think the Sharks were willing to offer him 2 years, but they didn't want that third year, especially for an aging power forward. I don't know. Well, I guess Joe Pavelski, but an aging forward, right? Hindsight being 2020, the Sharks made the wrong choice between Pavelski and Kane, as Pavelski has been awesome down in Dallas, and Evander Kane isn't even on the Sharks anymore, right? We don't have to go down the Evander Kane road, but Joe Pavelski has been putting up ridiculous. So he had 77 points last year in 82 games, 81 points in 82 games the year before, 51 points in 56 games in the bubble season. Joe Pavelski has been awesome for the Stars and has been well worth the signing for them. But, revisiting that trade, right, and then the extension, the Sharks, they were trying to win a cup, and Erik Karlsson was considered to be the last piece. Now, there was a lot of things that you could have done differently. If you don't re-sign Evander Kane, right, your first-round pick that you're trading becomes a 2019 pick, and then the 2020 pick. You're not giving up as your assets aren't as bad because the team is a much better position. Joe Pavelski is probably still on the team because you're not paying Evander Kane $7 million. And again, I see Doug Wilson's point, right? Are you going to pick the 27, 28-year-old forward? Or are you going to go with the 34 to 35-year-old forward, giving a contract with? Doug Wilson made the wrong choice there. But then the money, right? Go back to John Tavares. The Sharks were going to give John Tavares $13 million at the time. Erik Karlsson, yes, he was amazing that season when he got hurt. Fortunately, the Sharks, we know exactly what happened with the Sharks. They ran out of gas against the Blues. They just lost too many bodies. Erik Karlsson was playing on, shoelaces and bubble gum to try to make it through the end of the season to keep that groin together. But Erik Karlsson, $11.5 million at the time, pre-COVID, pre a flat cap, was the going rate for defensemen. Drew Doughty had signed an 11, basically had signed a little bit smaller deal, but that was kind of the going rate for the upper crust defenseman. If Cale Makar, if there's no cap, flat cap, Cale Makar is probably getting paid like $13-14 million right now. So I think there was a lot of things that a lot of sliding doors that kind of led the Sharks to where they are now with Erik Karlsson, and a lot of bad luck, i.e. the cap going up, a lot of decisions that didn't age well, choosing Evander Kane over Joe Pavelski, just a lot of things that, going back and revisiting it at the time, you can see why Doug Wilson made the decisions he did to try to win the Sharks the cup. If they won a cup, we wouldn't care. We would have that cup, have that banner. It doesn't matter. But just interesting to kind of just something to keep in mind as we get ready to talk about Erik Karlsson's legacy with the Sharks, where a lot of things, it was a lot of kind of bad timing. And, if the Sharks had done something different here or done something there or not done something, we would probably be looking at a much different team, or the picks that you traded wouldn't become Tim Stützle or all that. So, again, if the Sharks, I think if the Sharks just don't re-sign Evander Kane, re-sign Joe Pavelski, you're trading the 2019 first round pick and then the 2020 first round pick, but your team's probably in a much different spot with Joe Pavelski instead of Evander Kane. Who knows? So sliding doors moments. But before we continue and discuss Erik Karlsson's legacy, do need to take a quick break and talk to you guys about our good friends over at Athletic Greens. And if you are looking for a way to take control of your health, you want to eat healthy, you just want to feel much better all around. I know it's tough though. That's why you want to start your day with Athletic Greens and their AG1. One delicious scoop of AG1 in a glass of water, shake it up, drink it. You're good to go before you even do anything else. You're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to just get your day started right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, aging, all the things. And we know how hard and expensive it can be to try to buy a bunch of different supplements and make sure that they all work together. AG1, they got you covered with that. They cost less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habits. So right now it's time to reclaim your health, arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. Make it easy. Athletic Greens can give you a free 1-year supply of their immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do, visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, it's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership of your health and pick up the daily nutritional insurance. All right, so Erik Karlsson's legacy, and I think a lot of fans, right or wrong, kind of point to his contract as being the start of his acquisition and contract being the start of the downfall of the Sharks, right? And I can definitely see their point of view, right? You see Karlsson gets here, and then all of a sudden the Sharks don't have money to pay Joe Pavelski. And then you kind of start to see guys go, right? Marlowe and Thornton, and, just a bunch of the pieces kind of the wheels start to fall off of it. And it's tough because I think there was such high expectations for Karlsson, and the Sharks just weren't able to get over the finish line, and everything just kind of fell apart for them. That final year, especially after that 2019-2020 season, where they just didn't have the depth. You lost guys like Joe Pavelski, right? And Erik Karlsson that was easily Erik Karlsson's worst year. He loses, and then of course, top it all off, Martin Jones turns into a pumpkin, right? Like, you can point to, a lot of people point to Erik Karlsson, but like Erik Karlsson is a huge part of the Sharks history, right? He played in 5 seasons. Okay. He played for 5 seasons. He's fourth among defensemen in points scored. Brent Burns, 594 points in 798 games. Mark-Edward Vlasic, 364 points in 1,239 games for the Sharks. Dan Boyle, 269 points in 431 games. Then Erik Karlsson, 243 points in 293 games. Like, that point production is insane. And yes, I know last year helped a lot when you score 101 points in 82 games. But, like, Erik Karlsson, you saw, especially that first season, you saw once he got comfortable and before he hurt his groin that December, the Sharks were an absolute just monster that season. And, who knows if they handle his groin injury, if they just shut him down and don't bring him back into the playoffs. Remember, he left, came back, left again. Who knows what happens there, right? But Erik Karlsson was also responsible for some huge moments, right? Was a major catalyst in of course, the Vegas, 4 goals in 5 minutes, set up the game-winning goal to Barclay Goodrow. Of course, the hand pass with the Sabre or against the Blues. Like, Erik Karlsson was a huge factor that season, and I know that 2019-2020 season was a bad season from Erik Karlsson, but the next season you could see it, and then last season he was amazing, especially when he's not having to kind of share the load with Brent Burns, and Brent Burns is getting kind of all the priority minutes. You could see what Erik Karlsson was doing. And I just hope that fans realize like how special of a player Erik Karlsson was, because especially this last season, right? The Sharks were abysmal most nights. But Erik Karlsson gave you a reason to watch because you never knew when he was going to do something special, right? Like get a hat trick, becoming the first Sharks defenseman while playing defense. Brent Burns on the forward line, you don't count for this, but Brent, first Sharks defenseman to score a hat trick. The 5-point night, multiple 3-point nights, just being the best player that he was, and winning the Norris and doing everything that Erik Karlsson did this season. I just hope that when he does return to San Jose for the first time, he does get the kind of respect and admiration that he deserves, because Erik Karlsson is an awesome, awesome player. And I really hope he succeeds in Pittsburgh and gets a chance to play for a cup, because he's one of his generation's best players. And he deserves to have a long playoff run where he gets a chance to kind of showcase just how special he can be on the biggest stage. So I think with his legacy, it's going to be that polarizing legacy of, but with Erik Karlsson. Yeah, he did all this stuff, but he did it at the worst possible time when the team was irrelevant and, missed, especially in the first half of his career when San Jose missed big chunks of the seasons or big chunks of time when the Sharks needed him. And it just, that I feel like that's just going to be his legacy with the majority of Sharks fans is, he's a great player, but he never brought us the cup, or he didn't fulfill his contract, or all that stuff. And it's going to be unfortunate because I think we're going to look back at how special Erik Karlsson was as a player. And I don't think his time in San Jose is going to get the level of praise that it does, especially with all the buts that are going to come with Erik Karlsson. So you guys know I've loved Erik Karlsson ever since, been a huge Erik Karlsson supporter. If you've listened to the Locked On Sharks at basically at any time, you guys know how I thought of Erik Karlsson. And it's just going to be sad to not see him just do cool stuff on a night in, night out basis. So, but players who could be doing some cool stuff here. We're going to be looking at some projected lines. I'm going to look at what my lines were before this trade, look at them afterwards and kind of where I got guys slotted in and who's going to be kind of some of the healthy scratches. But before we do that, again want to thank you guys for making Locked On Sharks your first listen. Again, probably a part of the Locked On Network. We cover your team every day. And yes, even though it's the off season and I'm only supposed to be doing 3 episodes, you're going to get 5 episodes this week because we got plenty of great stuff to talk about. So we're going to be looking at kind of Mike Grier's plan tomorrow and what's going forward with him and how you can kind of circle this 25-26 season as like the season for the Sharks to kind of start to make a transition out of this rebuilding into hopefully a fun, frisky type of team. Plus, we're going to have a couple guests coming up, including the Locked On Canucks guys are going to be coming on at the end of the week to discuss what's going on in Vancouver and kind of get a nice state of the franchise with the Canucks. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And, of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. All right. The lines. So I've already seen the slight panic in Sharks land of, oh my God, is William Eklund not going to be on the roster? So here was my original lines without Erik Karlsson. At Eklund, Hertl, Duclair, Barabanov, Couture, Zadina, Peterson, Bordelot, Kanin, Zetterlund, Sturm, LeBanc as the forwards, Vlasic, Gavanke, Ferraro, Benning, Thrun, Burrows, with, of course, Blackwood and Capo Kakinen. And now, after the trade and all the new pieces coming in, this is the lines. So, Eklund, Hertl, Duclair, kept that line the same. I still like that line a lot. Again, this whole forward group has no defense. That's fine. They're going to have to try to win games. They're going to have to try to cheat for offense again, but without Timo Meier and Erik Karlsson. Second line, Mike Hoffman, Logan Couture, Barabanov. I think it's a respectable enough second line. And then the third line, Filip Zadina, Mikael Granlund, Luke Kunin. I think that gives you kind of a little bit of mixture of everything on that line. Gives Zadina maybe a chance to build some chemistry with Granlund. And then the fourth line of Zetterlund, Sturm, LeBanc. That would put my healthy scratches as the Oscar Lundblom would be the healthy scratch. And then if you want to have Giovanni Smith as your other healthy scratch, or if you want to put him through waivers to go play in the Barracuda, those are kind of your two guys that you're kind of looking at. If you want Smith to kind of play, if you want some of that grit, you can easily slide him in for LeBanc. So that's at least a crack at it. The defense, which has very little offensive skills, Mark-Edouard Vlasic, Benning is your first pair, Ferraro, Burrows, Thrun, Rutta, as your defense, and then Knizhov would probably be your healthy scratch there. And then you would probably try to McDonald and Shimmick would probably be. You probably run through waivers to try to send them down with the Barracuda, of course, with Blackwood and Capo Kakinen. So we'll see. I mean, of this, Duclair, of course, is on the last year of his deal. LeBanc is in the last year of his deal. Zadina's on a 1-year deal. Hoffman's on the last year of his deal. Cunnin, like there's plenty of guys, and I can see that, right? A lot of fans are like, oh my God, where's Bordelot and Robbins and Gushin once they kind of progress, where are those guys going to play? And again, like half the forwards are on 1-year deals, or if somebody gets hurt, right? Not all these guys are going to play every game, right? There's going to be opportunities, and we've seen with Mike Grier being very, very patient with how he kind of treats the prospects, right? We saw that last year with keeping Bordelot and Eklund down in the AHL for basically the entire season. I know Eklund was a little bit of contract shenanigans with kind of keep that slide going for one more season, but wanted to overwrite these prospects, and they have to win their jobs. And I still think That is the philosophy Mike Grier is going to have, and there's opportunities for some of these guys to win a job, right? If Luke Kunin's not playing every night, is okay. If Oscar Lindblom's not playing every night, okay. Like, there's opportunities for some of these young guys to eventually steal some jobs. Now, I think opening night, you're going to see much more veteran heavy, but as we saw last year as the season went on, I think some of these guys are going to either get hurt or get traded. Again, there's 5 of the forwards who are UFAs, and then Zadina, who's an RFA. Like, there's plenty of opportunities coming for some of these guys. And yeah, if LeBanc doesn't play every night, or 6, I forgot Luke Kunin, who's all the way down in the IR spot. Luke Kunin is also an RFA. Like, there's plenty of opportunities for these guys to get in and have jobs at some point in the season. Like, most, I think, very veteran heavy to begin with, to help protect some of these prospects and let them continue to develop and overripe in the AHL. But there's going to be opportunities for these guys as well. So that's how I would line them up right now, given the guys they have. You can maybe swap, if Zadina gets hot, you could put him up on the second line, move down Hoffman or move down Barabanov or whoever you want to. Like, there's plenty of flexibility to kind of move some of these guys. And I have a feeling you're going to see a lot of shuffling as the season goes on. So the forward training camp battles are going to be super fun as we get closer to training camp. So that's going to be it for me today. Be back tomorrow. We're going to kind of talk about the Mike Grier plan and kind of why that 25-26 season, and kind of look back at what Mike Grier needs to do differently than Doug Wilson did or didn't do going in, as he tries to kind of turn this thing around for the Sharks. So make sure you guys are following along wherever you get podcasts. And of course, you can watch on YouTube as well. You can follow the show on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Locked On Sharks. You can follow me on Twitter and Threads at MyFryhole. And until tomorrow, bye, friends.